Today on the Topping Show, Bud Light CEO says it's the boycotters' fault his employees are suffering. Supreme Court bans affirmative action in colleges. Michigan to ban the First Amendment. Dylan Mulvaney speaks out about the Bud Light fiasco. Alcohol is banned at the Paris Olympics unless you're rich. Nike misses their Q4 profit goals. The first EV bike adopts a Tesla plug. Eli Lilly to buy Cyclin Therapeutics. Overstock.com is now BedBathAndBeyond.com. Snapchat Plus hits 4 million users. Supreme Court backs religious freedoms, and aspartame may cause cancer. All that and much, much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, can you need a little assistance, you reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Now, other interesting cultural news, speaking of Bud Light and their brilliance, or more accurately, their blunders, you have Dylan Mulvaney finally breaking the silence around the Bud Light fiasco, which actually brings us a little bit more insight into what might be going on behind the scenes, because again, it sounds like Bud Light might have been lying to us, which that might be a really deadly drinking game if we were to drink every time I say Bud Light lied or Bud Light messed up or Bud Light is a business blunder of the week or the day of the month of the year, because they just keep making headlines and almost seemingly breaking records. So Dylan released this on the TikTok, but someone put it on the Twitter. So let's see what Dylan has to say.
Hi. One thing I will not tolerate people saying about me is that I don't like beer.
This is coming from someone who is drinking, it looks like, I'm trying to think of a nice way of saying piss. It might be Bud Light, but it looks like apple juice. And it's not out of a can, it's out of the glass jar that's supposed to look like a can. And it has flowers on it, of course, and it's blue to match Dylan's dress. I've never seen someone actually use one of those things in real life.
Because I love beer, and I always have. I built my platform on being honest with you, and what I'm about to tell you might sound like old news, but you know that feeling when you have something uncomfy like sitting on your chest? Well, that's how
it might be the Nike bra. Don't know for sure yet, though. Because that was a joke. Well, not really. It's a reality. That was one of the brand endorsements that also chose Dylan.
I feel right now, so this feels like the right thing to do.
Oh.
I took a brand deal with a company that I loved, and I posted a sponsored...
Really? All right. So it sounds a little bit more than just one single can with the face on it. Sounds like a campaign?
video to my page.
All right.
And it must have been a slow news week because the way that this ad got blown up, you would have thought I was like on a billboard or on a TV commercial or something major. But
I mean, we've gotten to the point where the internet is more popular than cable TV. Having a video go viral on the internet, I think in this case on the TikTok originally, that's just as valid as what used to be maybe something that's trending on the cable news box.
no, it was just an Instagram video.
Oh, Instagram.
And the wildest part is that they also sent me one can with my face on it. You might have seen it. And funny story, I had the can around my house, but then I realized, wait, I need to protect this can. So I hid it somewhere, and now I can't find it because I hid it so well. But when I do find it, I feel like it needs to go in a museum, preferably behind...
I agree. That can should be preserved for 100, maybe 50 years. As you can see behind me, if you're just listening on the podcast, I have an old Blockbuster sign, Radio Shack sign, Toys R Us, EDS. I love business history. From a business history and a marketing perspective, this is going to be something that's talked about in businesses, in college classes, finance classes, for decades. You have the Shark Tank executive, Kevin O'Leary, saying that Bud Light is a gift that keeps on giving because they've lost $25 billion in stock valuation since the April 1st initiative with Dylan. I mean, this has been talked about forever. So I do agree that can should be preserved as a business story that will last longer than I can comprehend. In terms of a beverage company making this mistake, this has been much worse than New Coke. And New Coke was a big thing in and of itself back in the day.
bulletproof glass. And you might be thinking, Dylan...
That's expensive. But usually quality is worth it.
why bring it up now?
That's true. It's been about 2 months, 3 months. Yeah, because April 1st, April to May, May to June. Yeah.
I'm bringing it up because what transpired from that video was more bullying and transphobia than I could have ever imagined. And I should have made this video months ago.
Now, this is talking about all the cultural news, talking about Michigan banning the First Amendment, or de facto banning the First Amendment. Again, this is my anecdotal evidence. I followed this cultural issue for a couple months now. I'm not seeing a lot of physical threats or pejorative language around the situation. Most people are protesting the fact that it was a spokesperson who, again, has an average audience member of a child. And there are folks who are concerned about the trans community and the women's community with sports organizations where there's disadvantages. So it did spark a greater conversation. And there are many memes. Again, memes in Michigan, memes will most certainly be banned. But again, if there are physical threats, absolutely stop those people. That's not appropriate. But again, this is another stuff. That's free speech.
Ago, but I didn't. And I was scared, and I was scared of more backlash.
Scared? This person is the most privileged person in the United States. They're getting $1 million brand endorsement deals for companies like, there's a women's makeup company, I believe it was, not Maybelline, Ultra? Yeah, Ultra. Multi-million-dollar contracts, and there's a whole community supporting this person. It should also be noted that someone else tweeted a little news investigative reporting, and they saw Dylan at a club wearing a, what was it? So Dylan was at a club, so that's public, and Dylan was wearing an $800 bra, which, geez Louise, $800 for clothing? Yeah, alone, the amount of material in a bra, like $800 for a bra? Jeez Louise.
And I felt personally guilty for what transpired, so I patiently waited for things to get better. But surprise, they haven't really. And I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did.
That is why you have people on the left in the LGBTQ community. Now they're protesting Bud Light. So again, the CEO of Bud Light has managed to piss off everyone, which, again, kind of like a politician, they're not saying, they said they're probably making donations to drag queen events and pride parades, which they've done I think they've done pride parades for 20 to 30 years now. The CEO is quite proud of that. But yeah, because they did not stick with Dylan, that's why you're seeing a big backlash. A lot of gay bars are dropping the brand completely, and they're no longer serving the beverages, which good for the patrons, but.
And for months now, I've been scared to leave my house. I have
That's
been
not true.
ridiculed in public. I've been followed. And I have felt a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And I'm not telling you this because I want your pity. I am telling you this because if this is my experience from a very privileged perspective, know that it is much, much worse for other trans people. For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all, because it gives.
Yeah, I gotta see that. If Bud Light, again, they dropped the ball. I can't think of an appropriate enough metaphor for dropping the ball. Like I used to know sports balls and sports teams. They dropped the ball like a Chicago Bears player. I know they're still mediocre, but they'll be good next year. No, they won't.
Gives customers permission to be as transphobic and hateful as they want. And the hate doesn't end with me. It has serious and grave consequences for the rest of our community.
Where?
And we're customers too. I know a lot of trans and queer people who love beer.
I thought that was pejorative, which is a fancy word for saying bad.
Lesbian friends who could drink some of those haters under the table. But to turn a blind eye and pretend everything is okay, it just isn't an option right now. And you might say, but Dylan, I don't want to get political. Babe, supporting trans people, it shouldn't be political.
It is. It's one of those things where very few people, there are a couple, but very few people really care about what you do in the bedroom or in the privacy of your own home. that I don't see when I'm talking to people. That's not really the folks thing. That's not the subject people are debating. A lot of people are debating the participation of the trans community in women's sports. Where what was that swimmer's name? The swimmer was like the 430th worst male swimmer. Like he was ranked the 420th or 30th out of the whole community of men's swimmers, and then transitioned and was now the number one. Now, interestingly enough, this is no difference in gender. Why don't we see people going from the other way around and setting and smashing and just destroying world records in sports? So I've seen that as a politically charged issue where it is fascinating, where it is a left versus right kind of topic, but you see that, and then you also see the drag show for kids. That's a political issue, where again, it is interesting that is political. I think there are more people in the middle starting to take sides, but it's interesting to see one side continuing to push these initiatives, and it's become a political issue.
Should be nothing controversial or divisive about working with us. And
well, I think again the controversy is that your average user is in their teens and they can't drink beverages. I think that's why you're not seeing as big as a boycott when it comes to Nike, when Nike paid Dylan to wear bras when Dylan can't fill them up.
and I know it's possible because I've worked with some fantastic companies who care, but caring about the LGBTQ
Which is again why Dylan is a millionaire.
plus community requires a lot more than just a donation somewhere during Pride Month.
That I do agree with. I don't appreciate companies that are charlatans or two-faced. If you're going to authentically believe in something, do it throughout the year. That's why I'm a little annoyed when companies will pretend to care about the 4th of July, and yet they're against the First Amendment, or they're against the Second Amendment. But every 4th of July, they'll put out a banner on the LinkedIn. They'll say, oh yeah, welcome to 4th of July, or they'll say thank you to our veterans on all the different holidays. And yet they might have the lowest percentage of hiring veterans. It's one of those things where if you authentically believe in something, talk the talk, walk the walk, as some might say. So, again, I might not agree with many things Dylan is saying, but that is a point where, yeah, a lot of these companies, I think, they use different political mechanisms to push their products. I don't so much believe in many of them. Some I wholeheartedly do. You look at Target, their stock's not doing well, but...
And all this to say, bottom line is that if you follow me, if I've made you smile, if you care about me, I need you to care about every trans person. And I need you to support us, and I need you to stand by us. And hey, it's still Pride Month, so
it's not.
I'm going to celebrate being a...
I say that because the day I'm recording this, it's not. It is now 4th of July month, which some are calling MAGA month, which is an amusing term. Maybe we'll just call it America month or something like that, but we'll see.
Live. And I'm going to celebrate the trans people in my life and the ones I haven't met yet. And I'm going to celebrate the fact that no matter how many thousands of horrible messages or news anchors misgendering me or companies going silent.
According to Michigan law, those news anchors will be jailed for 5 years or pay a $10,000 fine. Because again, you're making this person feel uncomfortable and you are threatening them.
That I can look in the mirror and see the woman that I am and that I love being. And I know you were probably here for the tea of it all.
I don't know what that means. The tea of it all? Tears? I don't see any tears. Dylan looks quite happy.
But I would love for something productive to come from this. So there is a link in my bio to the Trans Law Center, who is doing some wonderful work if you have the means to donate. And to the good people out there, I love ya. I really do. And cheers, but only if you're of legal drinking age.
Oh, now Dylan clarifies you should be of legal drinking age to enjoy the product that Dylan is endorsing.
Okay, I love you. Bye.
Why? That's awkward. I've never met this person. Why they're telling the world that they love them. That word has been cheapened throughout the decades, I would say. It's something you should only say to your spouse, your child, and a parent. Maybe one or two people on your deathbed. Again, that word has been used so much, it's almost lost all meaning. Now, this is reposted by quite a couple people on the Twitter. And let's see. Yeah, the top comments are all negative. They're not good. So it's interesting to see that Bud Light apparently even did worse in terms of, again, they were saying it was just one can. Now Dylan is saying it was a whole initiative. Given Dylan's popularity on social media, I think it would be much more likely for them to give this person a long-term contract, like even maybe it's a multi-month or multi-fiscal quarter. So again, this just makes Bud Light look even worse, as Bud Light quickly skyrockets to the business blunder of the decade, as we continue to evaluate their copious amounts of business blunders. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Can't thank you enough for taking time to like, subscribe, and comment. Each one of those things greatly helps out the channel. Especially feedback. Appreciate the critical feedback, as I always try to take that into account to make the channel, the videos better and better and better. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.